صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my journey to Islam. I'll be your host today. My name is Sister Catherin Shah, and my guest, alhamdulillah, is my dear friend, Sister Amin, and inshallah she's going to share with us her personal story on how she came to embrace Islam. Welcome, dear sister. How you feeling?
A little nervous.
A little nervous. That's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah,
I understand.
good.
It's all
Happy
right.
to
But
be
you have
here.
good things to say
I
and
do.
good things to share
I do.
with our viewers.
Yes.
So please,
Okay.
open up and take this opportunity to share your story. Okay?
Well, inshallah.
You know what? To start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for a living? Because I think it's real important for the viewers to
Okay.
know what you do and what kind of person you are.
Okay. First, I'd like to say I feel like I've been a social worker since the age of 7.
social worker?
Always thought of myself as a social worker, but I work with women who are recovering from drugs and alcohol. In a unique setting where they get to bring their children into a treatment facility, and they get to stay there from 6 to 9 months with their children while they recover and get back on their feet to go back into society and live productive lives.
Oh my goodness, that's very important work.
Yes, it's very rewarding too.
Okay, it must be difficult too.
It is. It can be very challenging.
It can be difficult. All right, we'll talk about that later on how your faith helps you with that. Okay. All right, Kathy. How long have you been here in South Florida?
I moved to Florida in 2005.
From
Maryland.
Maryland, up
Yes,
north. Did you
from Baltimore?
Baltimore. Did you grow up there?
Yes, I grew up in Baltimore.
Okay, then why don't you go ahead and tell us about your childhood?
Okay, as a small child, my sisters and brothers, we lived with my mom. My dad wasn't there. And we went to the Christian church, Baptist church, small church, and I felt a real closeness to God even as a small kid.
Really?
I remember at the age of 7 thinking of Jesus as my best friend.
Aww.
And praying to God and just always feeling a real closeness, a real love for God.
So you felt close to God, a connection,
did.
and you were a spiritual child.
Very much so, yes, very much. I had a time when I gave away my brand new shoes to a person who didn't have good shoes. My mom made me get them back from her.
Aww.
But I felt like that was something God would have wanted me to do.
That was the right thing to do.
Yes.
How old were you when you gave away your shoes to a
Goodness, I
needy
had to
person?
Be about 7 or 8 years old.
Aw,
Yeah,
mashallah.
and I remember the look on the little girl's face when my mom made her give them back, and I felt so bad, and those kind of things. I grew up feeling that way. I grew up just loving God and loving Jesus because that was our understanding. Until the age of 11, when my mom married my stepfather. Was a very good, kind person, and he was in the Nation of Islam. So
Nation of Islam, okay.
Came into the Nation of Islam.
That's interesting.
At age 11, and it was hard at first for me because I loved Jesus so much, and how I understood that Jesus, how we were taught that Jesus was the Son of God, which we know is not true, that Jesus was prophet of Allah, but that's how we were raised. So the Nation of Islam was more militant, and but I grew to love Allah. And,
because it's the same God, right?
Same
God is God.
Yes, yes. And I understood Jesus' role wasn't what I was taught in the Baptist church.
Could you accept that? Did that?
I remember I went out to a tree, and I made Jesus a promise I would never, forget him. But as time went on, my views did change, and I was in the Nation of Islam until the age of 18.
Okay.
And that was about the time that Elijah Muhammad died, and I was completely confused.
Okay, did you have questions?
I had a lot of questions.
Or could people answer
Nobody
questions
could answer.
for you?
No, there were no answers. Things just came to pieces. Everything came to pieces. The Nation of Islam then, it changed over, so I left.
You left the Nation of Islam. Well, let me ask you something. Is, just so for our viewers who may not know,
Okay.
is the Nation of Islam the real Islam?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
it's
No,
not.
it's not.
It's
No,
absolutely not.
it's
Uh,
all right.
that's
So
what-
at 18, you left the Nation of Islam.
I went back to the masjid, and it changed. It was, very different from the nation at the age of 23. But I made a couple of visits, but that was it. And I started practicing Christianity.
You went back to Christianity.
I did.
Okay.
And I became a really, I was very involved in the church. Very, very much so. I went very regularly. I raised my children as Christians. We went to Bible study. We went every week to church and to Bible study, and we'd have different studies. But I was also searching for God everywhere, because if anybody knocked on the door, Jehovah's Witnesses, or I always let them in.
Oh.
I would always let them in and talk about God. I would talk about God with whoever would talk about God. So I was searching, and that's what I found out later. I was searching.
You were searching and a
so-
seeker. How many children do you have, Kathy?
I have 3
You
children.
have 3. Alhamdulillah.
Yes,
Okay.
Allah blessed me with
Oh.
2 sons and a daughter.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
Yes, yes.
That's
So-
good. All right, so you were raised in the Baptist church,
That's right.
and then in your teenage years, you were part of the Nation of
That's
Islam.
right. That's
And
right.
at 23, you went back to Christianity.
That's right.
And you
That's
were
right.
always you always felt close to God.
Always. Yeah,
Always.
always knew that He was real. I knew absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, that God was real. I always knew.
So
Yes.
but you were still searching for
Still
the right
searching.
way
Still
to what? To worship?
Exactly.
To worship God
Yeah,
and to
exactly.
get closer to God?
Exactly.
Well, we want that,
Yes,
right? We
that's
all
true.
want
That's
that.
so true. Yes, that's
Okay.
so true.
So then what happened?
Well, things changed. And right in the middle of the stream, it seemed like things changed. Where
In what way?
when I was growing up, they said that Jesus was the Son of God. So as a little child, imagine a little child, I believed that, And then as
Did
an
you
adult,
pray? You prayed through Jesus,
Yes.
right? To Jesus, through Jesus.
I thought he was. Sometimes I used to think of him as my big brother.
Oh,
And because that's how we were, taught, if he was the Son and God's the Father. So, but then as an adult, the church was telling me that Jesus was God. And that's where I started having major problems. And nobody could explain it. I would grill the pastor and say, how did it change? When did it change? And how did Jesus become God? And nobody could give me a clear answer. And I became obsessed with getting an answer. So much so until people just said, you have to have faith. And I tried. I really tried. I think I even prayed a couple of times, but I knew that it wasn't right. I knew in my heart that Jesus was not God.
Okay, but you still loved Jesus.
Still
Peace be
loved him.
upon him.
Peace be
And
upon him.
as Muslims, we are supposed to love Jesus.
Yes,
Peace
yes.
be upon him.
Peace be
He's
upon him. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you
that's
still
right.
have that, but you
Yes.
couldn't accept
I
that
could not
he's
accept-
God. Jesus is God.
I
You knew that wasn't.
I knew that wasn't right.
Okay.
So I did a lot of searching. I went to different churches. I asked a lot of questions. Nobody had an answer, a clear answer.
That made sense to you.
That made
and you
sense.
wanted it to make sense.
They wanted me to be quiet and just believe. So.
And you're not you weren't a child
No,
anymore.
no. So, and I'm known for asking questions. So
That's good.
yeah,
Keep doing
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I met my second husband at the age of 43, and he's Muslim.
Muslim.
Yes.
Okay. So you married a
Yeah, I
Muslim
married a
man.
Muslim, yeah.
American?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And in the beginning, I took Shahada because I wanted to be a part of who he was, and I only did it to please him, to be a part of who he
I
was.
understand.
Yeah. So after a while, I stopped practicing, and I told him, I didn't want to, be a part of, Islam. Unfortunately, that's, how I felt with my limited understanding, and I went back to the Christian church.
Okay.
And found more of the same, and even more so that they were worshiping Jesus, and then my husband and I, I started. My husband kept teaching me. We had a little time where we were apart, and we came back together, and he kept teaching me and teaching me and teaching me, and I loved it. I just loved hearing about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, about Allah, about Islam, and
what about when he prayed?
That's what did it. I would watch him. I would kind of peer around the corner because he prayed in a separate room, and when I watched him pray, I would cry. I'd find myself crying.
Do you know why? Did you know why you cried?
I had no idea.
Did you know what he was saying? Did you?
No.
Not everything, no.
No.
So, but you just reacted to
did.
his act.
I did.
This physical act of worship. And you
did.
cried.
I did. And it. I don't know. I can't explain it.
What do you think that was?
I think it was Allah. On my affecting my heart and pulling at my heart.
What is that quote? What is that quote from the Quran that we were talking about earlier? Do you remember? This is, viewers, from chapter 6, verse 125. Those whom Allah wants to guide, He opens their breasts to Islam.
Alhamdulillah. And I feel blessed. I absolutely do, to have been chosen to follow the path of Islam. So I asked my husband again, and if I told him I wanted to take Shahada, and kind of looked at me, and he said, "Okay," and I said, "I'm really serious. I really do."
So you had a rocky road.
Yeah, I did.
You back and forth and
I
back
did.
and forth, but that's because you were always questioning.
Always questioning.
You didn't want to do it just for him.
Exactly. But this time, the difference was it made sense. It finally made sense.
Oh, okay, it made sense, and you took Shahada because you wanted to do it for you.
Exactly.
Alhamdulillah. All right, viewers, thank you. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back, inshallah. Welcome back to my journey to Islam. My name is Sister Catherin Shaw, and I've had the pleasure to speak with my friend Sister Kathy Amin, and she's sharing her journey to Islam. We talked about how she grew up in the Baptist church. In her teenage years, she was a part of the Nation of Islam. She went back to Christianity, and then she finally embraced Islam. And one of the main things that Islam made sense to you, because you had always, in the Christian church, you loved Jesus, peace be upon him, but you couldn't accept the idea that Jesus was God, because, right? Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And once you understood that Islam gave us made it clear that we can talk directly to God, right? And you can still love Jesus, peace be upon him, but so it made sense to you. Okay. Did you once you took Shahada, did you have were there any obstacles or difficulties with as far as your family was concerned?
Well, my family was happy for me, excuse me, of my daughter. She didn't accept, she didn't want me in her home. It was hard for her to accept that I embraced Islam. My two sons, my oldest son was very happy. My youngest son was confused because I raised him as a Christian. And
so you had, with the three of them, you had the two extremes and one in well,
yes, exactly, exactly.
So how did you handle that?
I explained to my youngest son, who had the most questions, Islam, and how I didn't know. That I was searching. And once Allah guided me to Islam, it made sense to me. And I tried to explain it to him, but he was quite upset because we were Christians, and we studied, and we went to church. My daughter had the hardest time. Our relationship has gotten a lot better now. But like I said, I couldn't go to her house. You know, she didn't withhold the grandchildren, alhamdulillah, but it was
just hard for her to
it was
accept,
very
and a
hard.
lot of
Yes.
converts, reverts have that
that-
experience.
exactly.
I did too.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's something for
Yeah.
that viewers can relate to, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And
Absolutely.
is it better now?
It's much
It
better
has
now.
improved.
It
Okay,
has. It really, really
alhamdulillah.
has. With
Yeah.
all three of my children, so
Alhamdulillah.
I'm so grateful to Allah for that.
Okay.
Lots of
All right.
prayer.
And what do you tell them? If you don't expect them all to leave Christianity, if it's because of you,
No.
what do you tell them?
To pray and do the right thing.
Okay.
Yeah. To be, if you're going to be a Christian, be the best Christian you can be.
That's
Yeah.
that's
and know
good
that-
advice.
Yeah. And know that there's only one God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get that in there every chance that I get.
Uh-huh.
There's only one God. So,
Okay.
alhamdulillah for that.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
That's good. How do you feel your life is improved now that you're Muslim?
Oh, I have so much more peace. I have understanding. I understand the searching that I've done my whole life. It's finally makes it's clear. It makes sense that Allah is God. There's only one God. I'm constantly learning and constantly praying and at peace and know that nothing happens without the will of Allah.
Okay.
So
even when something, because I know you have, you know, the other day your car broke down and you know, and it's a difficult thing and you might question it.
Yeah.
But how did you deal with it?
I understand that not even a leaf can fall off the tree
Oh.
without the permission of Allah.
Okay.
And that's what I tell myself when I'm going through something difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That
I
Allah's
may
in
not
charge.
understand it
Yeah,
right now,
yeah,
but
exactly.
this had to happen, and
Exactly.
let me
Exactly.
accept it.
Yeah, exactly.
And get through it.
And it helps me greatly in everything that I do.
Okay, how about your job? You were telling us about the social work that you do and the
Yes.
fact that you work with
Yes.
women
Yes.
who've
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
from bad situations,
Yeah.
drugs and
Exactly.
alcohol,
Yeah.
and you're there to
Yeah.
deal with them. So how does your faith in Allah help you with those with that stress?
Yeah. I always remember that all good deeds are counted by Allah. So I try to be good to the girls. I make it a point to be. And I talk about God with them. I don't necessarily say Allah, although I can say Alhamdulillah, Inshallah with my coworkers, and they know what it means, and they're okay with it, you know. But just to let the girls know, pray. Encourage them to
however
pray.
you know
However
how to
you
pray.
Yeah, encourage them all the time. We take the girls to church. A couple of the girls have even asked for the Holy
Quran?
Qurans. Yeah, and I've given out a couple. And when they ask questions, I tell them very honestly, and they're interested and they want to know, and it clears up because sometimes they ask questions like, well, they think that Islam is so harsh, or I'm like it's the kindest, softest way. And when I tell them about marriage in Islam, they get so excited and so happy when I tell them what the husband's role is and how the Prophet said that women should be treated gently and kindly. These are women who've had it really, really hard their whole life, So
That's
I've seen
right.
some bad things, so it helps a lot.
Okay, and that helps. Now, do you cover your? Do you wear a headscarf at
Yes,
work?
I do.
So then,
Yes, I do. So-
that generates questions
it
and gives you an
does.
opportunity
Yes, it does.
to talk about it.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
So,
yes,
and they want to know, what's
Why-
under there,
what's
and why
that?
do you cover your hair,
Uh-huh.
and when I tell them, they understand and they respect that.
Well, you do really good work, okay, and you have,
Right.
just like you said when you were a child,
Yes.
you always had that in you
Always.
to serve,
Yeah,
that
thank God.
feeling to serve.
Yeah.
So
Alhamdulillah.
you know what? You're very blessed that you're doing such good work, and it's what you're supposed to be
Yeah,
doing.
alhamdulillah.
And may Allah accept all of your good works, honey, and all the good things that you do, and you touch a lot of people, so don't give that up, okay?
Okay,
All right, you make dua and pray
Okay,
and keep strong.
Okay,
And
okay.
what are you learning now in Islam, and what are you working on, right? Because there's a lot to, for us to keep learning all the time.
Exactly. To learning Arabic, it's a challenge.
Yes.
But to to pray strictly in Arabic because I use English still a lot.
Okay.
Reading the Holy Quran, to be consistent with the readings and the prayers and listening to the qibats, and I'm just learning so much. Every time I pick up the Holy Quran, my heart is so filled with happiness and joy and understanding and learning, and sometimes even a fear that to do the right thing. Because when I read and I think, okay, I need to make sure that I don't, go back.
Okay, but what if you make a mistake?
I know Allah is forgiving and merciful.
Okay.
I know it absolutely.
You know that.
I do.
And Allah wants us to ask for forgiveness, right? And He will forgive us.
And I know it absolutely, and I believe it.
Yeah.
So
so we do the best we can.
yes, absolutely,
Right.
on a daily basis, every day.
That's good. What would you like to tell people about Islam? If you look at what's going on in the media and the news, and it's just bad, right?
Yeah.
Negative, and so you at work, that's what people know. That's what they see.
That's what they see. Yeah. And I tell them that's not true Islam. That Muslims don't behave that way. That the Prophet would not want to see us behave that way. He didn't teach us that way. Allah that's not part of who we are. So those people who are acting out and carrying on and burning up and destroying buildings, that's not Islamic, not at all.
Do you feel like you can do anything to make the world a better place, and to get to help right the misconceptions about Islam as one person, one woman?
Yes,
you do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell people, and on people when they meet you on a one-to-one basis, and they see you as a peaceful person, then they know it's okay. Then they look at that and they have doubts.
So you take on that challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
It's not always easy.
It's not.
It's not. But good things are not always easy.
That's true. That's
right?
so true. That's so true.
I was so happy to meet you a year ago when you came into the masjid.
Yeah,
and
so kind and friendly to me.
Alhamdulillah, I was there to greet you when you came in.
Yeah,
and
I was scared and didn't know anybody, and you embraced me and became a real friend to me and teacher.
Well, you helped me to be a better Muslim too, because I want to be a good example for you and a good example for our children.
So,
right?
They're beautiful children.
All the people that we interact with. Kathy, how do you feel that you've changed since you've embraced Islam?
It's made me a much nicer person, softer person, kinder, more considerate. If I start to get angry at someone, I remember the teachings of Islam, and
what does Islam say about anger?
That is bad. It's not good. You should pray, and that's what I do. I make dua. I start praying. I ask for forgiveness, and I pray for the person that I'm getting angry with, and I'm quick to apologize. To go back and say, I apologize for if I was harsh in any way.
I can't imagine you being harsh, but I'm sure you're tough. You've told me that you're tough at work because you have to be sometimes.
Yeah, I do. And but I'll go back and talk gently with the girls and let them know that I'm here to help them and just encourage them in any way.
Okay, so you feel that you're kinder, more. Don't you feel? I feel that Allah is watching me
all the time. Yes,
and I need to be aware, right?
Absolutely.
Be aware of God and be aware of trying to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
And when we make a mistake, beg for forgiveness and start over again.
All day, throughout the day, because of the population that I work with, I can easily get. It's a lot. So
stressed out.
Constantly praying, constantly making dua,
so
asking Allah to help us all.
Do you pray at work?
I do. Yes, I make my salat at work.
You make good.
I do when I can, and I make dua because I know that's good for me, and I feel rejuvenated. I feel happy and
very good,
peaceful.
Very good. Yeah. Take that opportunity to pray and connect with God, reconnect with God, right, during the day.
Yes. Absolutely.
How do you think Islam can improve one's life?
It gives an understanding of who God is, who Jesus is, peace and blessings be upon him. I could go on for forever. Just it's a peaceful, kind way of life, worshiping God, which we were created to do, and knowing that He loves us so much. So I don't know.
When you were a younger person, did you ever imagine that you would be Muslim? Or?
Never.
You never.
I never did, but I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I am, that Allah chose me. That's just.
So you've been given a gift,
a real gift,
and you need to share it with people when it's appropriate, and you know how to do that, and right. You smile. You have such a beautiful face and such a light in your face.
Thank you, Sister Catherin.
Okay,
Thank you so much. I'm
so happy that you're happy,
I'm happy,
and that we met. Is there anything else before we wrap up that you'd like to share with our viewers?
That people take the time out and visit the masjid. If you have questions, like I had questions. I didn't understand how Jesus could be God. You know, look past that. The pastors would say, just have faith, just believe, with no answers. Look for those answers. I did. I believe it saved me. You know, it saved me from probably torment of hell. So go further. You know, I understand that Muslims are kind, that we want to be your friend, that we're friendly people. It's okay to say hello. You know, I'm friendly to everybody.
I know that you are.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, thank you for that, because you're helping everyone, helping all of us.
So, and that we're kind, peaceful people, and that's how we.
And we're here to serve,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
To be grateful and love God and serve our fellow human beings.
Exactly.
And you do that every day.
Thank
Okay.
God.
All right. So that's it?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
Thank you, viewers, for sharing this time with us and letting Kathy share her experiences with us. Please join us again on My Journey to Islam. Assalamu alaikum.
Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.